Hello, welcome to this week's edition of our program, Sports Weekly. My name is Joakim Dada. Emmanuel is unavoidably absent, and so I am sitting in for him. Remember, on Sports Weekly, we encourage our viewers to take out time to send us a feedback, and you can do that simply by contacting us by any of our handles that you are seeing on the screen. You can send us either via YouTube, leave a comment on our videos on YouTube, you can send us a Facebook message, or even you can even drop us a Twitter message, and all our handles will be showing right now on your screen. Yes, this week we'll be focusing on some very, very important question, a question that has bothered so many people over the years, and the question is the efficacy of sports being able to change nations, or the efficacy of sports being a change agent. And that is what we would love to answer today. For me, I believe sports is a change agent. It can create jobs. It can bond people. It creates great fraternity, great relationship. It's a vehicle of empowerment. Millions. Nigeria, because our studio is here in Nigeria, I know Nigeria can create close to 10 million jobs from sports. And that is a question that the platform tried to answer when they invited Chief Segun Odegbami. We call him the mathematical Segun Odegbami. They invited him to the platform in celebration of Nigeria's 57th anniversary. And at this point, I will just give you the opportunity to watch what Chief Segun Odegbami had to say when he tried to answer the question, can sports change Nigeria?
Thank you all very much, and I thank Pastor for putting me in trouble. When I first had my conversation with the pastor, he gave me the option to select what I was going to speak about. I didn't know much about the platform. I watched part of it last year, and I just didn't have a grasp of the kind of topic that would suit the other. I didn't think of today's program. But I didn't hesitate at all. I just told him, I said, let's take it sports, we can change Nigeria. And that was a big mistake. I spent the whole of last night trying to put my thoughts on paper. At 3 o'clock this morning, I printed 25 pages. When I was leaving home this morning, I prayed. My prayer was, God, please, leave those things I wrote. Just come and put the words in my mouth, so that we reflect the theme of today's conversation. God has answered my prayer. I listened to Roman and Segun, and I started to wonder, in all of the crises facing Nigeria, in all of the problems we have, almost impossible to think would happen to any nation. Me, another footballer, will now stand up and say, we will use sports as inconsequential as what can be to change Nigeria. That is the wrong topic. So at the same time, when I spoke with the pastor, I said, Pastor, look, you know, in our own sports, we don't have all these theories and technicalities and all those statistics and all those figures. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to come here and tell my story. Pastor said, fantastic. So right now, that's what I'm going to do. I have abandoned that topic and I'm going to tell you my story. I love Nigeria. I love Nigeria with a passion for making me who I am. Without Nigeria, I wouldn't be standing before a congregation like this, speaking on nationwide television and talking about the country and proffering some solution to our problems. Nigerians love sports. Nigerians love their football. Everybody mouths it. They say football is the greatest unifier in the country. It transcends religion, tribe, language, geography. When the Super Eagles are playing, every Nigerian forgets all those differences. And they all come together to support the team, and when the team wins, they just celebrate with abandon. They jump and hug each other without thinking where they come from. This should be a lesson about what sports, football can do to unify. I recall in 1968, just to demonstrate this subtle power of football to do things that are almost impossible. Santos of Brazil came to play here in Lagos. 1968 was the heart of the Civil War. Pelé came with Santos. He played against the select national team of Nigeria. It is reported, I don't know whether it happened, I was alive, that for the period of that match, the warring armies of Nigeria and Biafra, they ceased fight. They halted the war just so that the armies of both sides could listen to the commentaries on radio of what was happening in Lagos. It is recorded. That just shows you how powerful a tool football can be. And one that is even closer home. I just wonder, how can somebody, an Igbo man, wake up now and be thinking of war? Because I remember in 1971, immediately after the war, when the president of Nigeria then, General Segun, he said there was no victor, there was no vanquish. But everybody knew that there was a conquered army. Before the war, it was that the dominant region of the country. They dominated education, they dominated business, they dominated the military, the police, and everything. They were the most sophisticated, in fact, Nigerians. And then they were conquered. For them to come back to mainstream life of Nigeria, they needed to do something. Heroes are industrious, they are hardworking people. And they demonstrated that when they came up with a subtle idea, their leader came up with a subtle idea. Rangers of Enugu. Let me tell you about Rangers. Rangers of Enugu were not a football club. Rangers of Enugu were a movement of the Igbo people. They rose from the ashes of that war when nothing else could have brought back or removed that psychological impression of the conquered army. This team came up with the indefatigable, indomitable spirit of the Igbo man. Rangers came up in 1970. By 1971, they started to dominate Nigerian football. They won everything that could be won. Up to 1975, all over Africa, if you're talking football, that the whole of Africa loved, it was about Rangers of Enugu, Stanley Emmanuel Okala. They dominated the consciousness. There wouldn't have been a stronger tool to heal the psychological damage of that war. but the Eagle man did it through a small club called Rangers of the Eagle. When he came back, in 1975, 8 Igbo players were representing Nigeria. 8 of them. And I tell you, the influence they impacted in the Nigerian team is still sustained up to today. Because Western have said it, that look, give an Igbo man some incentives. Give him something to target and put money, attach money to him. Deprive him of it. Now deprive him of it when it is time for you to give him. And then you will see the fight. The do or die attitude. The fighting spirit. We go die for this cause. He said the people will give you that result. And that's what happened in 1994. It was that spirit that lifted Nigeria to win that 1994 African Cup of Nations. It still is the spirit of the Nigerian team Super Eagles. It is still there. So, football, sports, they have the power to do certain things. I will tell you a few of them. One is the unification of people, to bring people together. The second is big business. Everybody knows that football and other sports are some of the fastest growing businesses in the world. It is a $1 trillion industry now. And if you look at countries like Saudi Arabia, like China, like India, they are investing heavily, including South Africa, into this sports business because it is the passion of the youth. Youth love sports. They love football. Many of them want to become JJ or Kocha and Panu because it's a life of fame, it's a life of fortune, and now they are becoming powerful. Georgia wants to be president of Nigeria. So it provides for the youth. These countries are investing heavily into sports. There was a revelation in 1995. Nelson Mandela. Roman quoted him. Roman said that with education can change the world. He said something like that for sports. He didn't say with sports you can change the world. He said the power of sport can change the world. Sport cannot change it, but the power of sport can change the world. There's a slight difference. Let me explain it. If you go to the city of Amsterdam, there's a place called the Amsterdam Arena. It is the stadium, the home base of Ajax Football Club. That's one of the biggest clubs in Holland. The club is owned by the city of Amsterdam. I think it was in 1992 or thereabouts, they built the stadium complex. And once every 2 weeks, Ajax Football Club plays there. And we have this huge audience of tens of thousands of people trying to venue, and they patronize everything, they make so much money, and everybody goes so good. But everyone knows that the Amsterdam Arena never sleeps. It operates 25 hours a day, 8 days a week. So what goes on there? It is not sport. Sport, the football, is the least activity in the Amsterdam Arena. So it is not the football itself that generates all the traffic into the arena. There's another world aside from this football. It is powered by football, but there's another world. It's very interesting that not many people have managed to discover that world. That was where we were heading when we did Koja, when Nigeria built the Abuja National Stadium, one of the most beautiful stadium edifices in the world, state of the art, a masterpiece of architecture. When you enter the city of Abuja, our federal capital city, one of the most beautiful cities in Africa today, it is the thing that welcomes you to that city. You see it in the distance, sitting majestically at the entrance into the city of Abuja. And you wonder, wow, this is beautiful. Fortunately, unlike the Amsterdam Arena, nobody goes there. I worked there for 2 years. I don't think I even had more than 10 or so visitors. It is desolate. It is desolate because it is a reflection of who we are. You see, the tears, the sweat, the blood of ordinary Nigerians whose resources were used to build that stadium. The way that stadium was built, one of the costliest stadiums in the world to build. Every brick, every block is stained with corruption. We organized the most reckless, blatantly and brazenly. We saw Nigerians from top to bottom looting our treasury and calling it koja. You see, it is not cursed, but you see, it is the sweat, it is the commonwealth of all of us. And people just went there and performed their spontaneity. And they are like, how can such a thing thrive? It cannot thrive. That's why it is desolate. That's why I heard Roman say it. I heard Segun say it. But Segun gave me hope. Because he said it is not in the numbers of what we do, but let us do a little bit. But you see, that Abuja Stadium is a constant reminder about who we are. Nelson Mandela, in 1995, 2 years after he became president, he did not stop the bid that the white separatists had done to host the Rugby World Cup. He didn't stop it when he became president. Rugby was a white day in South Africa. Their national team was called the Springboks. They wear green and yellow jerseys when they are playing. Blacks hardly went there to watch the game. Blacks loved their soccer. So the World Rugby Cup took place in the year 1995, just 2 years after Nelson Mandela became president. Tension was really high. Blacks hated whites with a passion. They jailed him for 27 years. Nelson Mandela said he forgave everybody even before he asked. He went to that stadium that 55,000 white audience, mostly white audience, just a sprinkling of blacks. Yeah. When he got into the stadium, he was wearing the green and yellow of Springboks. The whites didn't understand what was going on. The blacks who were not there watching on television, they were stupefied. They didn't understand what was going on because it was anathema. For the black man, symbol of oppression, to now don the colors of white supremacists. That was the day Nelson Mandela discovered the power of sports. He walked onto that pitch with the broadest smile on his face, and he started to wave at the audience. And he started slowly, in triples, gentle clap, and then he started to build up. All the eyes were clapping, and then suddenly somebody said, Mandela, Mandela, Mandela. And before you knew it, 55,000 white people. We are looking at the man with a broad smile on his face and reading across it without saying it was forgiveness, humility, unity, all those great words signifying an end. Signifying an end to the conflict between whites and blacks and the colors in South Africa. If he, the most oppressed of them, would come and share with the whites, who are you? Another black man to say you will not. And that was the beginning of change in South Africa. And Mandela realized that moment, in that moment, that he had the tool. He had the secret formula. It was a secret formula to how South Africa was going to become one and develop. He was going to use the foolish things that our Lord uses, the foolish things of this world, to confound the wise and do great things. My brothers, you don't know what happened. South Africa, they started a series in 10 years. After that day, they started a series. Now that Mandela had discovered the secret formula to use the power of sport. I found it. I heard what he said, and it didn't make sense at the time. But, you know, the elements have a way of conspiring when something good wants to happen. They just conspire and you see things are happening. I was invited to the World Scholar Athlete Games for secondary school students, 157 countries in University of Rhode Island in the USA. That was in the year 2006. I went there and I discovered that sport was really one of the least activities. It was the World Scholar Athlete Games, but sport was one of the least activities. The greater series of activities were sessions with different speakers, just as we have here today. Speaking to children from 157 countries, telling them about life, about leadership, about friendship, about peace, It climaxed with Bill Clinton coming to talk on the final night. And what he spoke about was the globalization of humanity. He said, we are going into a stage in the world when peace must be sought by all means and by all men. And that he was speaking to the next generation so that they would know what to do to achieve peace in the world. It was a difficult task, he told everybody, but it could be done. There was also a representative from the United Nations, a man called Djibril Diallo, a Senegalese. He headed a new unit at the time that was set up to use sports as one of the Millennium Development Tools agenda to drive the eradication. Listen to this, the eradication. Sports to drive the eradication of hunger, poverty, illiteracy, disease, HIV, AIDS in the world by the year 2015. Part of the MDG goals. Sport was to do that. And I sat there in the audience and I was asking myself, sport to get into education, to get into hunger, I came back to Nigeria, I was brimming with all kinds of thoughts. Then I met Dr. Kola Akinroye. He's the president of the Nigerian Heart Foundation. He invited me and wanted me to be a consultant to the Nigerian Heart Foundation. Consultant, Heart Foundation, I'm a football man. And he said, yes, we'll use your popularity to promote golf, a golf tournament we're organizing to bring awareness to Nigerians about the scourge of non-communicable diseases. High blood pressure, diabetes, just name them. He said 34 million Nigerians at that time had one heart-related problem or the other. 34 million Nigerians. And do I know that the life expectancy had dropped to 52? That means that, you see our youths, our young people, they would, on the average, not live beyond 52 years of age. Not only because of the non-communicable diseases, but for other factors as well. But those were the statistics. Young men are dropping and dying. And he said, Segun, do you know why? A sedentary lifestyle. Children no longer walk the long distances to school. Children sit at home in front of television sets. Children are taken by car to school and brought back. Children stay with their telephones all day. He said, look, the biggest cure of non-communicable disease in the world is physical activity, of which sport is a major part. It was an eye-opener. I don't want to tell you what happened after that, because Akinori took me as a resource person to the 13th Public Health Congress in Ethiopia, before 4,000 medical personnel, for me to come and tell them, after my visit to the US in 2006, after he had made me a consultant, the work that I did with him in that area, he said I should come to Ethiopia and tell them, because it was beneficial work to the youth of the world. I went there and I came back. He took me to Kenya, Jomo Kenyatta University, where I sat with 5 professors from 4 different African countries and 1 or 2 from Canada, and they were discussing something I heard for the first time: active transport. That is the distance that a person covers with physical activity every day, and how that impacts on non-communicable disease again, longevity, and so on and so forth. And I sat there mesmerized. And he was telling me that, Segun, look, the work that you are doing with kids in your school is going to be our laboratory test for how efficient, how effective what we are prescribing are. I own a school. That school is a laboratory. That school is based in Wasimi in Ogun State. It is not your normal school. It does normal education, secondary school education. But I tell you, the foundation is that I wanted to find out these things that I heard, if they actually work. I went to the governor of Borno State, Alhaji Shetima Kashim, and I told him the state is ravaged with the insurgency. So many children out of school. Roman was saying 10 million. Ezekwesili told us 16 million out of school children in Nigeria. 16 million. And that was several years ago. And I sold it to him. I said, look, I have a school. I just came back from America. They told us that we could use sports to drive the eradication of illiteracy. How do you do that? My own thought is that we would lure those children who are passionate about sports, who don't like education but want to play sports. We would give them a condition. If you want to play at your sport, come and do it within an institution. If you do it, then you get a combination of the two. The elements conspired again. I got an invitation to become chairman of the National Academical Sports Committee, which gave me access to all the secondary school students in Nigeria. For me to now make a pronouncement to say, look, if you want to play football for Nigeria at under 17, you must be in school. If you are not in school, you cannot play. That was a way to compel them to go to school. But they told me that children in Borno, their education, they can't go to school, they can't. That's why I went to see Shetima. And I explained what I wanted to do. He agreed that he would give me 5 boys who were idle anyway. They were out of school, they loved football. He sent them to my school. And we had this experiment for 2.5 years. We developed a teaching methodology that was simple, that was easy, that was use of pictures and all of that. And these guys, I assured them that it would not tamper with their religion. Because in the west of Nigeria, they had solved the problem of religion and Western education. Go to the West, you will never find that problem. They had solved it. So I assured him, said, okay, send them. And we sent those boys. Their religion was not affected. In 2.5 years, 3 of them sat for WAEC. These were people who could hardly speak a word of English. 3 of them sat for WAEC, passed their WAEC, did their pre-university exams, passed their exams. They are all 3 in universities in Nigeria today. 2 of them were so bad that we had to get them special teachers who spent all that time with them. At the end of the 3rd year, when those 3 were graduating, these 2 would not go away. They said they must graduate. These were people who did not even think of Western education to start with. They must graduate. Their story is unfortunate because for some reason, the problem in Borno State must have overwhelmed the governor, and he didn't look in that direction anymore. Those lads, I don't know what happened to them because they went and they are not back, which is my regret. I wish that we had taken it up somehow to give them, but I believe they will still get a good education. That was the school experimenting with people. I took results of intensive sport. What is the effect of intensive sport on young children? Most schools all over the world do 1 or 2 days of sports a week. My school does every day 3 hours of sports. These were children, mostly, who ordinarily never want to go to school. They don't want to school. Their parents come and beg me, look, this child says, if I don't play football, I will not go anything. I said, bring that child. We have difficult children. And we convince them, we teach them, we give them so much sport that they collapse. In 7 years that we have been graduating students, it's a very small school. We have about 100 graduates out of that school. 35 of them who came into that school, not with any special talent in sport, not with any desire for education, but in the 3 years and now 6 years that they spend in that school, 35 of them are in American colleges and universities. And they are all on scholarship, full American scholarships. It is small. It is a small effort, but I can testify to the efficacy of the power of sport to effect change. It is not word of mouth. You all know about unifying people. Me, I know about using sports to effect change in education, enrolling children in school, retaining them in school, giving them a good education, and making them not to turn back on education, but to further their education. In 7 years, we've only had 2 students that didn't further their education. All the other students are in Nigerian universities. In Ife, we have a collaboration. In Port Harcourt, they are all over the country. So, it is possible. And sports, the business, people don't understand it. I've told you the connection between sports and illiteracy and disease. And when we now went down, I was invited to Harvard as one of resource persons for the business of sports in Africa. The business school, to come and talk about the business of sports in Africa. They thought I knew much about the business. Because in Nigeria, when you're talking sports business, before you mention 1 or 2 people, they Odegbami, he knows about it. I didn't know anything. But the invitation to Harvard was an opportunity for me to go there so that I would add to my CV and, of course, learn from others. That's where I learned about the business of sports, the business of sports. And I tell you, wow. That secret that Mandela discovered, I found it in the business of sports. And I'll tell you about it. That will be my final story. In 2003, I convinced the Minister for Sports in Nigeria that we should do an audacious thing. Now that I've discovered the power in sports to make change, I said, look, let us do what Mandela did. He said, what did Mandela do? I said, Mandela, in 10 years, since that day in 1995, the following year they organized the Africa Cup of Nations. Then they organized the Cricket World Cup. Then they organized the Africa Cup of Nations. Then they organized the Football World Cup. They organized the Football World Cup. And now they are planning to organize the first Olympic Games to come to Africa. I said, do you think they are crazy? They know what they are doing. Because with the power of sports, look, the World Cup is not a football event. The World Cup is not a football event. I took the minister I convinced him. I booked the trip to Switzerland to go and see the former president of FIFA. We got there and we sat before him. And he said, yeah, what do you want? The minister said, Segun, tell him. Because he just thought I was crazy. So I told Mr. Blatter, I said, look at the trend of things. Look at the way things are going in the world. You know, you are making this World Cup so expensive that only very few countries can organize it. It is not benefiting the countries that it should benefit. It is those countries that don't have money that should organize simple World Cups and benefit from it that should organize it. But now I'm coming up with a proposal. I said, what is it? I said, look, let us do a 4 or 5 nation regional World Cup in Africa. When it is coming to Africa, don't burden one country. Let 4 or 5 share it. They will share the expenses. They will share the benefits. And people will have an unbelievable experience. The man said, wow, this is brilliant. If you put it forward, I am going to support it. That was his promise. We flew back, we went to the vice president, we told him, he bought into the idea. We went to the president himself, he approved it. He gave us letters. I took the letters personally to 5 African presidents, and they all agreed. We did a study on what needed to be done. However, it was shut down. It was shut down out of fear, out of ignorance, and out of the lack of belief in ourselves as Nigerians to do anything that has integrity, that has accountability, that has probity. We don't trust ourselves. And it is the damage that we have done. Sports, when you mention sports in government now, they say, that house of scandal, that house of corruption. That's why the national minister for planning would come out at the beginning of the tenure of this government, list 41 priority areas that the government would face, and sports was not one of them. And yet, this is the passion of the youth. This is an area that covers every aspect of life. If you have ever done the World Cup, you will know that sport is the least activity in the World Cup. It is about immigration. It is about tourism. It is about business. It is about medical facilities. It is about road construction. It is about your rail lines. It is about... Look, you have to put everything in place. And you have 7 years to do it. And you must do it. It is compelling. Nigeria, we just talk. We procrastinate. We have great ideas. We don't do anything about them. If there is something that can make us do something, why don't we explore it? That was my whole idea in 2003. It was shut down for lack of belief, for Koja, because Koja was still in the minds of people. That reckless financial brigandage. My brothers, the formula is what Nelson Mandela did. Sport has the power to make changes. An opportunity beckons for unification, for infrastructural development, for regional integration, for so many things that our forefathers, our fathers, in fact, the founding fathers of this country, of Africa at independence time, their dream was that there should be a road from Johannesburg to Cairo. There should be a rail line from Dakar to Douala. There should be this, there should be that. Look, those things can find fulfillment. If after 57 years, they haven't been done, single currency, one huge market in West Africa, 250 million people, open boundaries, collaboration in security, in immigration, and all of those things. If one event can bring all of those things to be, why don't we explore that possibility? It is foolish, I know, it is foolish. It is simple. Oh, it cannot work. But you see, once again, our Lord uses the foolish things of this world to confound the wise. That opportunity comes in the year 2030 or the year 2034. I don't know who will be there and who will not be. I will not be part of those who will do it anyway. I'm too old to be that. But if we have faith in ourselves, and I know that there are young ones amongst us who can answer to what it takes to be a sportsman and to lead us, because we need a new kind of leadership, and we need new leaders in this country to lead us. They will be accountable. They will have probity. They will have integrity. Their word will be their bond. They will be determined like the Super Eagle players. They will not never give up. They will fly and soar like the eagles, and they will restore peace into this country through the means of sports. The 2030 World Cup beckons. The 2034 World Cup beckons. It will be the turn of Africa. Let us resurrect that idea, because FIFA already has expanded the World Cup to 48 countries. They have agreed. Now they know that a single country hosting the World Cup may never work. They have agreed. People are thinking it. They are coming up with ideas of a multi-nation World Cup. We can have a West African World Cup made of 4 or 5 or 6 countries. And the dream of our fathers at independence will be achieved. The road from Johannesburg to Cairo will start to be constructed. The road from Dakar to Douala will start to be constructed. The millions of jobs that this will throw up will belong to our youth, and so on and so forth. We shall take care of illiteracy. We shall do this. We shall do that. Sports has the power to change Nigeria. Please embrace it.
The platform is powered by Covenant Christian Center.